You know, I will wrap up on this, but I remember listening to, I think it was Tim Ross, and he was talking about how people they say they know God as, or they have all these different names for God,
Mm-hmm.
but he was like, you would never know God as Jehovah Jireh unless you need Him to provide for you. For if you need Him to come through for you, then you're gonna get real acquainted with that side of God.
Absolutely.
When you sick, you're gonna know you and Jehovah Rapha
Yep.
gonna be real tight.
Yep.
But you would never have the opportunity to know God in a different way if you're never in that situation.
Not only will you not know him as Jehovah Jireh, you can't introduce him as Jehovah Jireh,
That's good.
right? You can tell someone else's story, and that's cool and all, but when you have a personal testimony, no one can take away an experience, a testimony away from you.
Yeah.
They can try to cast doubt on someone else's like story, something that happened, in theory, but an experience can't be taken away. And so when I look across the table from someone and I'm talking about how God came through for me personally, I will not be moved.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Faith Ignite podcast, and we're so excited you decided to join us for today's episode. And we have a treat for you. We have a frequent faith flyer that's back on the podcast today. And before we jump into today's episode, as usual, I'm going to ask you to do a few things. First, if this content or any of our other content has helped you, I would ask that you hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, turn that notification bell on so you are aware when new episodes are released. And then secondly, hey, if you want to become a financial part of this ministry, you can follow the link below and help us to take these stories of faith around the world to the people that need them. Because there's about 7-8 billion people, I think, at this point on the earth, and everybody deserves to hear the gospel of Jesus Christ. And by you partnering with us, you're helping us to do that, be able to send these messages of faith around the world to every part of the world so they can hear it. And then lastly, if something's going on in your life, we would love to know about it. You can go ahead and send us a message, drop a comment below, reach us out on social media, send us an email, however you want to. But just go ahead and let us know what's going on, how can we help, and how can we be standing with you in agreement and celebrating what God's doing in your life. And so now that we have all that out of the way, like I said, we have a guest that's back on the podcast again today. He's a frequent faith flyer. You've seen him on several episodes before, and so he doesn't need any introduction. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome our guest, our returning frequent faith flyer, Mr. Raymond Ihim.
Thank you so much. That's right, Raymond Ihim. I say Raymond's my professional name. My friends call me Ray. I used to say that you can call me Ray, but I don't know who all is watching. So
Stick with Raymond.
Stick with Raymond. No, I'm just kidding.
Man, Ray, it's always a blessing to have you back on the podcast every single time, man.
Absolutely. It's a blessing to be back. It's a blessing to see everything going on with Faith Ignite and just hearing faith stories. I think it's important to get out there, people understanding that faith is a journey. It's not a snapshot, right?
Yeah.
And hearing those stories, builds us up.
Yeah. And so you talked about faith being a journey. Like, what has the journey been like for you for the past, I don't know, last time you were on the podcast, maybe a year and a half ago, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So what has that faith journey been like for you?
Yeah, I think since the last time I've been on, last time I was on with my wife. And we just got recently married.
So I was 23, no.
Was it 23? Close.
Okay.
I mean, close enough. It's within the last 2 years.
Oh.
No, wait, when we got married or? I know when we got married.
No, I mean, yeah.
Wait a minute. I saw some surprised looks here in the studio. We got married on April 2023. 23.
Okay.
So I know the date, if my wife's watching. But the last time we were on the podcast, I think it was in 24. Yeah, so last time we were here, just got married, and we were learning what married life looks like, combining faith and finances and that relationship, and learning that, not every idea I have on my own makes sense now that you have someone else to talk about that with, right? Because you're both walking that walk, have a relationship with God and a relationship with each other. Yeah. And now we're all coming together. So there was some calibrating that was happening there.
I love the word choice.
Yes. Very professional. So anywho, since then, it's just been really not growing weary, right? And taking it to another level. You sometimes you think like, oh, is this the peak of the mountain I'm on? And you realize that no, there's still more to go and more to do. And so as we've come together, joined our finances, we've joined our vision for what it looks like in our careers and in our businesses, and in our family. It's been, taking that next step. And so, for us together, we've both had businesses.
Yeah.
And we've been learning how to use our businesses to support each other. It's not just my business and her business, it's our business.
Yeah.
And how do we work together? So that's a lot of what our testimony has been around this last few years, just getting a vision for what it looks like to increase there.
Yeah.
And to be consistent in that increase.
So, like, even with this, so like you guys are talking about, like, first off, being married, like that in itself is a journey.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's faith involved when it comes to getting married. First off, you have to hear from God if this is the one or not.
Yep.
Obviously, at this point, you can't ask God now if this is the one. You're already married. But what does that look like when it comes to having differing levels of faith, where you guys are now coming together, you guys are now married, but you guys have, and I guess your upbringing plays a part in this, but you guys have an idea or something, a goal that you guys are believing for, but there's a difference in opinions, different of beliefs, different in expectations. So now how do you guys get on the same page, on one accord, so now faith can work in that marriage?
Yeah, absolutely. And so fortunately, we have a mentor in our life who was able to speak a lot of life into our relationship, even while we were dating.
Mm-hmm.
And, he talks about all the time how when you're looking for your spouse, you're not looking for a certain color, you're not looking for a certain age, a certain height. The Bible doesn't specify any of that,
right.
Is what I mean. But what you are looking for is someone who is equally yoked.
Yeah.
Right? So you can't be in different places.
Yeah.
And even if you're both Christians, you really need to get your faith aligned as well. You need to be consistent in how you believe, because it's going to affect every decision you have going forward. So back to our mentor, we had sessions with him. We had talked about how love is a decision, not an emotion.
Yep.
Right? Emotions you come in and out of, but you decide to love each and every day. So that's something I think about all the time. Like, I'm just going to decide to love. I make that decision at the beginning of the day before anything happens. I forgive at the beginning of the day before anything happens. And really, I'm planting seeds for myself. But also, it's like I choose to walk in agreement and walk in faith.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the day before anything happens. So when things come up, I know I'm responding with my faith light. And then sometimes when, it feels like faith is growing weak, she's able to, bring me back up to remind me, here's how we're yoked.
Yeah.
We walk in faith. We trust God. We believe him. And so that's been a journey, because sometimes faith looks different.
Yeah.
Right. And for me, I was very much a, hope it happens, but it's kind of like the world's kind of hope, and then you call it faith later.
Yeah.
For her, I think there was a lot of, doing everything that you know to do in a natural.
Yeah.
And then when it works out, calling it faith. But really getting aligned in, no, faith is trusting God, asking him for wisdom. When you receive the word and you know it's God, taking steps, because faith has actions.
Yeah.
And being in agreement about that. So now it's like, I can't just walk in faith myself. I now need to talk her through what I'm receiving from God. Same thing with her. She needs to talk me through what she's receiving from God. And we have to learn to get in agreement first before we move forward.
Yeah.
Because it creates a lot of false starts whenever you don't do that. And kind of went down a rabbit hole there. But getting back to our conversation with my mentor, I remember it like it was yesterday. He was giving us a visual for what it looks like if we don't stay equally yoked. Right? If you think about two oxen, they have to like walk step by step together, or else they won't have the progress they expect. So if I'm like trying to grab something in faith and go after something in faith, but my wife isn't sure, she might be holding me back. Same thing vice versa. If she's trying to go grab something in faith and I'm unsure, or I'm in doubt and unbelief, I can be pulling her back. And, my mentor like got up and he was like illustrating that for us, and the vision of that became so clear. And so over these past few years, it's learning how to make sure we are in agreement day to day, week to week, month to month, before we move on something. And that's been an important discipline to have.
You know, and I think about even with that visual, you talk about the oxen. Like if you think about it, if one is moving forward and the other one's not, what's going to happen is they're not going to move forward. They're going to just move in circles. Because one's going to stay, the other one's going to go. So they're just going to keep going like this and keep going in circles and keep going in circles until the other one that's not deciding to move decides to move, and then we can move forward. But if it's vice versa, they'll just go in circles the other way. And so it speaks to the importance of being equally yoked, being on one accord, and being able to do things together. Because if not, you can go around and go around and go around and go around, and eventually, what that yoke will do, that eventually keeps rubbing the neck until the point where you're gonna see the ox is gonna start bleeding.
Yeah.
To the point where it's just gonna keep rubbing and rubbing and rubbing to the point that it kills him.
It can create wounds in the relationship, right? Those wounds can heal, but it's important to address them quickly, and it's even better just not to have them at all.
Yeah.
So being intentional each and every day about, hey, what are we in faith for? What are we believing for? Keeping those words in front of us, whether they're prophetic words we've received, things we've received in our spirit. And I think what comes to mind as I start saying this too is just the importance of communication.
Yeah.
Communication is a vital thing that should be happening in your relationship, especially when you're reaching for things that seem impossible or bigger than you. You've got to be able to be building each other up in your most holy faith continuously.
Yeah.
So whenever, even coming here, she reached out to me about a word that was already producing fruit and letting me know what was going on. And I was like amening it, reminding us of the words that we received. And we're walking on the same page in life, right?
Yeah.
Like if that's happening, but she doesn't tell me the testimony, I don't get to see the fruit showing up in our lives.
Yeah.
Same thing in my life. As things are happening for me, making sure she's a part of that celebration.
Yeah. So, kind of same general topic, but switching gears slightly. When it comes to faith and understanding, like you talked about, communicating, but we also understand the importance of our words. Like your words, even in the context of marriage, like your words can uplift or tear someone down.
Yep.
But in the context of faith, your words can create your world. Well, your words is going to create your world, whether good or bad. That's up to you. But it can uplift you, but it also can destroy you. And so because I know Ray has a gift. He has a gift of faith. Like he can believe for things and things happen. Like Ray, if you ever get around him and he starts speaking to things that be not as though they were, like it almost like it like startles you a little bit because of the power that comes out of this man. But talk to us about the importance of speaking and how that creates your world.
Yeah, absolutely. Words seem like they're just to communicate.
Yeah.
Our mentor says all the time that words create, and you create what you want in your life.
Yeah.
So when you're speaking something, you got to know like that's what you're creating as well. And sometimes you just need to be silent. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it.
Yeah.
So like in the context of relationship, if you're frustrated or angry about something, hold your tongue. Don't allow yourself to say something out of anger or out of a reaction. That also translates in the business realm, right? Like if you're trying to develop your personal business or do something within your career, you should be very careful of your words, because once those words go forth, they're going to go out and produce something in your life. Even this past week, I had the pleasure of connecting with a brother of ours, and he even talked about, like, even when he sings songs, if he doesn't agree with the lyrics, he will pause for the lyrics he doesn't agree with. Everything else could be on point.
Yeah.
But it could be one line where the words don't align with what he's believing for, what he's in faith about, what he believes about himself. He just won't say it. I think that's just that's important. Now, I don't say like ignore things that are going on.
Yeah.
The Bible doesn't say, it says to say what is not as though it is. It doesn't say that you want to take things that are and just not talk about them at all.
Yeah.
So it's important to address what's going on, but quickly follow with words of faith for how you're coming out.
Yeah.
I love to say, instead of like, I'm having a bad day, I'm having a character building day, right? In those words, I'm communicating the same thing to you. I'm creating a vision for myself that this isn't a fixed situation I'm in. I'm growing.
Yeah.
There's growth that's happening out of that. That's just a simple way I'll encourage myself, encourage my team, encourage my wife. If we're believing for increase in a certain area, whether that's finances, I don't have a lack. I have an opportunity to have a testimony producing income, getting more clients, seeing a breakthrough in this area. And then that testimony isn't just for me. That testimony is to produce more seeds after the fruit I have, right?
Yeah.
So as someone else hears that, as you hear a faith story about something working in your life, it then produces that in someone else's life.
Yeah.
Finally, I'll just say, even with different volunteering opportunities we've taken that into those arenas as well. I'll sit there and ask for testimonies or ask for praise reports or ask what's the best thing that's happened in your week. And I'll sit there in silence for 30 seconds until someone speaks up. Because one, sometimes it's like we're tooting our own horn,
right,
and we don't want to do that. The world teaches us that's not a great thing to do. But if you do it in the right way with the right intention, where you're talking about the goodness of God and helping to build faith within yourself, encouraging yourself, and then encouraging others, we can become skillful in how we tell our story, how we tell what God's doing in our lives. So I feel like that's a great opportunity that we often miss whenever you're connecting or communicating with people. I meet someone for lunch or something. I want to talk about what God's doing, the blessing, how it's operating in my life, and how I can encourage them as far as the things that they're facing or going through.
Yeah. So you talked about like what that will look like as far as like your faith having character building days.
Mm-hmm.
So give us an example of where your faith, or give us maybe this is testimony time in the service. Give us an example of, or some kind of testimony where you had to walk through something where your faith was tested, what happened, and how did you come on the other side of it? Or what was the end result after it all?
Yeah, absolutely. So a year ago, it's November, right? Yeah, a year ago.
November, yeah.
I was in a different car, and we were in a different house, and we wanted to get into a new home. The home that we were in, my wife moved in with me. I'd already bought this home, and it was close to a very busy road. Now, I didn't hear the noise. I always grew up around that.
Yeah.
But she grew up in the country where it was quiet, nice, peaceful, serene. I needed that,
You hit a
background
horns.
fan all the time, and it was sirens for me.
Yeah.
So horns, traffic. So anywho, we were in a place where we're ready to move, get into a new place, a new space, and we came together and said, hey, well, she basically came to me and said, hey, it's like, this was our decision. Well, it was first, her idea, and then I agreed graciously, toot my own horn there. But really, she made me aware of a situation where she just couldn't find rest in this home because of the noise, right? We needed to move, and we were going to get in faith about that. We did. We wrote down what we were believing for the new home, and we thought, okay, we're going to start looking for this home. Faith has actions. We're going to start moving towards it, right? Now, all the while, we're trying to get debt paid down, and we have a car payment that's a little large, and we're trying to figure out, okay, how is this going to work? But we're just going to move.
Yeah.
Well, in my different car that I mentioned before, I'm coming out of my neighborhood, and a car comes out of nowhere. It just teleported. I probably didn't see it, but it teleported as far as I'm concerned and hit my car and totaled it. So as you can imagine, this is not what I'm quite believing for, right? I'm believing for increase, and now I have this wreck on my hands. And in the moment, you want to kind of be upset, and we didn't do that. I called her, I let her know what happened, and we just kept our faith light on. But it was a character-building moment. That became a character-building day, then a character-building week. We had a carpool, so now we're sharing a car, driving into work every day.
Yeah.
Now we're dealing with two people with two different schedules having to kind of wait on each other. So you can imagine that's an opportunity for the devil to try to bring strife.
Yeah.
Keep the faith light on, keep walking in peace and joy and love, making a decision to love every day. All the while, it's like we were supposed to get into another house, but now we have a car that has a loan on it. We're still making payments, trying to figure it out with the insurance company.
Yeah.
How do we get this paid off? We were upside down on the car.
Wow.
According to KBB.
Yeah.
We were upside down on the car. And, you know, if they gave us what the value was according to KBB was, we would still have a loan outstanding.
Yeah.
But we just kept our faith light on, speaking truth to the word, or true to the situation, because facts exist, right?
Yeah.
There are facts where you could be in debt right now, or you could be dealing with a sickness, or, you know, you could have, an estrangement in your family. Those could be facts about your situation, but those facts can change. Truth never changes. So we kept speaking truth to that situation, right? We kept speaking that, you know, we prosper as our soul prospers. We kept speaking that, you know, God makes all things work together for the good of those who diligently seek him, and we diligently sought him each and every day. And so we kept speaking truth to our situation, that this is character building, this is going to be a testimony, where we're walking it out right now.
Yeah.
It's easier said than done, right?
Yeah.
So that was a moment for us to get it done, right? And walk through it and trust God. So as we're moving through that situation, you know, insurance calls us, the adjuster for the insurance company calls us and says, hey, this is the most I can do for the value of your car. And they call my wife and tell her that. My wife calls me and tells me that. And I just say, no, that's not where my faith's at. And so that sounds good.
Say it, you call him back.
Exactly. That sounds great, right? But, you know, with work going on and everything going on, it's like, I'm glad that you're in faith. You know, it's probably what she's thinking. You know, I'm assuming she's not here to say exactly what she was thinking, but I'm responding with that. But then it's like, okay, well, where's your action? What are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
So I said, okay, give me that person's number. Reached out. She said, here's the only thing I could find as far as a comparable online. And so I took that information. I knew okay, is this the search you're doing? I went to a cars.com app. I put in the parameters I wanted to search under. I did the search, and then there was 2 cars at the top. I went from like 100 miles to the whole country. I was like, I'm looking everywhere for some comparables here. I found 2 cars that were similar to mine, like exactly the same as far as the specs. So I put those into the search.
Yeah.
They were at the top, and they were like $20,000 more than anything else on the list. I ignored what didn't agree with my faith. I stayed with these 2. I sent those to her, and I went back to work. This was in the middle of the workday. I remember it clearly. And I was like, this will work. But I'm not going to put my mind on it anymore. I'm going to leave it to God and let him do his thing. And she reaches back and like, oh, this is perfect. And she got it all sorted out with the insurance company. And now this car that we thought we were going to have to, you know, get a check and still have a loan with gets totaled out. It's paid off.
Yeah.
Well, guess what that does for us? It drops our debt to income ratio, right?
Right, it does.
Because now we're back to 0. Yeah. So it gives us an opportunity to then, you know, save money and pay cash for a car. So we have no debt. And we paid mostly cash, and then we paid it off pretty quickly afterwards. And it put us in a position where we could now look for a home and have more options as far as what we could purchase.
Right.
So had we not walked that out in faith and maybe submitted to the first negative report, right?
Yeah.
We would have had this car totaled, a loan outstanding on it by the time it gets totaled out that we're still paying off on, or having to, you know, refinance to clear out the lien, something to figure out how to cover that additional amount, and then be out the car and out the opportunity to purchase a home.
Right.
But we stayed with our faith, and we were able to get that home a few months later because of our shift in position. Yeah. So that's just a simple testimony about how the way you respond and view a situation determines how you act. And that's evidence of your faith. That was a testimony that came because we had made a decision to walk our faith out.
You know, something interesting you were talked about, even like in the middle of the process of what you guys were believing for the house, how Satan would use smallest things to kind of throw a wrench in that, like to see. He'd always try to test that, and he'd give you like there would be like you talked about like driving, car hit you. Now you got to worry about this car, and like obviously you were thinking about the house, but now you have to consider okay, what just happened with this car situation. But the devil would always try to get you off of your faith walk, and this walk of faith is going to be a continual battle where every day you wake up. I heard Brother Hagen say, the first thing when you wake up, the first thing you should think about when you wake up is, where's my faith at? What is it that I'm believing? Am I going to believe the report of man? Am I going to believe what I see? Or what I'm going to believe what the word says?
Absolutely. And I think on top of that, another thing about that testimony, the person that hit me, him and his wife became clients. So it was like, I'm bringing clients to you by force. So, but it was just another, like, the way I responded in that moment.
Yeah.
Was able to produce that relationship, right? So, you know, as I think about, you know, why did we decide to do that? I think there's a difference in, you know, saying you believe the word and then actually walking it out.
Yeah.
There's a verse that comes to mind when Jesus talks about the rock, right? The person who hears the word and does it is like a man who builds his life on the rock. What's the rock? It's hearing and doing the word. Not just hearing it, knowing what to do, but then you never actually do it when push comes to shove. Someone who never actually does it, their life is like it's built on sand. Yeah. They're going to be tossed to and fro. They're double-minded. They're going to be unstable in all their ways. But when you hear the word and you do it, even when it's not easy or not convenient, that's the rock that you're able to build your marriage on, your business on, your career on, your life on. Yeah. And that's what we've endeavored to do. We've gotten a lot of wisdom around us that's helped us do that. Yeah. You know, several mentors in our lives, specifically one who's been with us, I think 5 years now. Yeah. Me 5 years, and then once I met Emily, introduced to her life as well. But when you have that light and you know what to do, then it's on you to do it, to be a doer of the word.
You know, just even piggybacking off that analogy that you talked about, like building your house on the rock or the sand. You think about sand, it's just simply, if you want to build something on sand, you just got to make sure it's kind of smooth and just start building, laying blocks on top of blocks. When you come talking about building a rock, first off, you got to get some kind of, there has to take, some excavation process takes place where you got to dig in and you got to make a path to be able to lay this stuff. Like when you're building a house, you got to dig the foundation, you got to put the steel, the rebar in the ground, put the cement on top of it, and then you start building up. Yep. So both of them have the same outward appearance, but what's underneath is what's really going to hold. And like I said, with sand, you just pretty much stack on top of that. And when something comes, the cares of life or the testing of life knocks it down. Yeah. But if you build your house on that rock that has that solid foundation that's built in there, that's going to be able to withstand, because everyone's faith is going to be tested. Whether you're a believer or not, you will face situations in life where it will test you in every way, shape, or form. But I guarantee you, if you have your life built on the word, built on the foundation of who God is, and your faith is grounded in that, you'll be able to withstand. The Bible talks about after you've done all that you know to do, you keep standing.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of testing of your faith, I mean, we get a word on that. You know, in James, which I always think James is cool as a book because he was the half brother of Jesus, right? Yeah. So he was in that household. Yep. He was a sibling to the perfect man, right? So I wonder what that dynamic must have been like. But he would have seen things that we don't get to see in the scripture, right? Day to day, day in, day out. And one of the first verses in his book talks about the genuineness of your faith, be much more precious than gold that perishes, though your faith is tested by fire, may be found to praise, honor, and glory at the revelation of Jesus Christ. And so, you know, as you build and grow your relationship with Jesus, his word, and have that word in your life as something you not only hear but do, you're going to be in a position where when your faith gets tested, it's going to be genuine. Yeah. And the value of that cannot be overstated. Yeah. It cannot be overstated, because life's going to happen, and that can cause you to make a decision where you've done all this work to get to a position and you can lose it all in a day. Yeah. because you did not allow yourself to build your life on something that's firm,
Solid, yeah.
that's solid.
Yeah.
If you're on sand and the rain come and the wind comes, you're gonna get washed away. But if you're on the rock,
Yeah.
when the rain comes, I mean, it still hits you. You're still getting hit by rain and wind and all of that. But when it passes, and this too shall pass, is another phrase that I'll say to myself at times, you're gonna stand firm because you've built your life on the truth that is God's word, and you're doing what that truth tells you to do.
Yeah.
I think that's the difference.
So, Ray, as typically as we like to wrap every episode up, what would be the last parting words that you would leave with our audience? What would be the last thing that you would tell them? The last piece of advice or encouragement that you would leave them with?
The last piece of advice, the last encouragement I would leave is prove God in your life. Each and every day. Become skillful at walking testimonies out in your life, and don't allow what doesn't seem like it's working the way you would expect it to discourage you, because even that can be part of your testimony. Take every opportunity to allow whatever test or trial to produce faith, to produce patience, to produce a maturity in your faith walk with God.
Yeah. We'll wrap up on this, but I remember listening to, I think it was Tim Ross, and he was talking about how people, they say they know God as, or they have all these different names for God, but he was like, you would never know God as Jehovah Jireh unless you need him to provide for you. If you need him to come through for you, then you're going to get real acquainted with that side of God.
Absolutely.
When you sick, you're going to know, you and Jehovah Rapha, going to be real tight.
Yep.
But you would never have the opportunity to know God in a different way if you're never in that situation. And so, like you talked about, giving yourself the opportunity to have these chances and these opportunities to grow. If you run away from those, you will never have the opportunity to know God in a different light.
And I keep adding on, but because I meditated on that a couple weeks ago. Not only will you not know him as Jehovah Jireh, you can't introduce him as Jehovah Jireh.
That's good.
Right? You can tell someone else's story, and that's cool and all, but when you have a personal testimony, no one can take away an experience, a testimony away from you.
Yeah.
They can try to cast doubt on someone else's story, something that happened, in theory, but an experience can't be taken away. And so when I look across the table from someone and I'm talking about how God came through for me personally, I will not be moved.
Yeah. Ray, ladies and gentlemen, man, it's always great when you come and have it on the podcast.
Yeah.
Sorry, yes, my wife says it's Raymond.
Yes.
Raymond.
I'm glad you caught that. I was gonna say something, but I was like, walk in grace, walk in love, walk in faith.
Man, it's always a blessing when you come, because we get to talk about what God's doing and to be able to see how it's edifying. Obviously, it's edifying for me to be able to sit here and listen to what God's doing, but I believe it's going to edify our audience because they get to hear what faith looks like in action. And so, man, thank you so much for coming on the podcast as always, and sharing your story and just being able to leave us with something where our faith can be ignited.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me. And subscribe to Faith Ignite if you haven't already.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have to sign off for today's episode. But like I said in the beginning, if this podcast has helped you, shaped you, encouraged you, if this content has blessed you, or any of our other contents, go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, turn that notification bell on so you are aware when new episodes are released. And then if you want to become a financial partner of this ministry, you can go ahead and follow the link below. It'll take you to our website, and you can be able to partner with us there so we can take these stories of faith around the world to the people that need them. And then lastly, if something's going on in your life, we would love to know about it. So go ahead and write us an email, drop a comment below, send us a message on social media. That way we can get in contact and be able to celebrate what God's doing in your life. And so we're going to have to sign off for today. But until next time, this has been Faith Ignite. God bless you.